I thought the locked bedroom was being used for storage. I wish that had been true. This happened when I was 26 and working as a traveling nurse. I had spent almost 2 years moving between short contracts and living out of suitcases. By the time I accepted a 6-month assignment outside a small rural town, I was exhausted from constantly starting over. The house was 20 minutes from the hospital, at the end of a long gravel driveway. It was an older 2-story place with an attached garage and a crawl space beneath it. The landlord lived in another state and rented the bedrooms separately. The listing said I would have one quiet roommate. His name was Dale. He was in his 40s, worked nights at a packaging plant, and seemed respectful. He showed me where everything was and explained that the 3rd upstairs bedroom stayed locked because the owner stored old furniture inside. My room was across the hall from it. The laundry room was beside the locked door. At first, the arrangement felt perfect. Dale left around 6 each evening and returned before sunrise. I worked 12-hour shifts, so we barely crossed paths. After months of temporary rentals, I was grateful for the silence. The first odd thing was the toilet seat. Seeing it left up should not have bothered me because I lived with a man. The problem was that it happened after Dale had already gone to work. I had used the bathroom after he left, then found the seat up again an hour later. I assumed I had forgotten. A few days later, I came home and smelled fresh cigarette smoke near the stairs. Dale had told me he did not smoke. When I mentioned it, he said the smell probably came through a cracked window. Then a dirty coffee mug appeared in the sink. It was not mine, and Dale claimed it was not his. He laughed and said maybe I had brought it from the hospital by mistake. I knew I had not, but arguing about a mug felt ridiculous. One morning, I noticed muddy work boots by the back door. They were larger and more worn than Dale's. I planned to ask him about them after showering, but when I came downstairs, they were gone. I told myself he probably had a friend over while I was working. It was his home, too, and I did not want to question every visitor. The weather turned worse in late November. Heavy rain became sleet, and the power went out often. In the dark, pipes knocked inside the walls and wind pushed against the old windows. During one outage, I was sitting downstairs with a flashlight when I heard footsteps above me. They crossed the upstairs hallway slowly. Dale had texted 10 minutes earlier to say he was still at work. The steps stopped outside the locked bedroom. Then I heard a soft scrape, like a key entering a lock. I called Dale and asked if he had come home. He said no, and suggested I was hearing branches against the roof. There were no branches above the hallway. I almost called the police, but the power returned and the house went quiet. I checked every room I could access. The doors and windows were locked. The spare bedroom remained closed. After that, food began disappearing. Nothing major. Bread, yogurt, and leftovers I was sure I had saved. Once, I found my clean laundry folded on top of the dryer. The shirts were inside out, and the socks were paired wrong. Dale said he had moved them because he needed the machine. One evening, I came home and found the bathroom warm and damp. The mirror was fogged, and water clung to the shower walls. Dale's car was not there. When I texted him, he said he had showered more than 5 hours earlier. That was the first time I checked the locked bedroom handle. It did not move. I stood there with my hand on it, feeling foolish and afraid at the same time. The motion light in the backyard started turning on at night. From my bedroom, I watched it switch off, then come back again. I blamed deer until I saw a human-shaped shadow pass beside the shed. The next night, while pulling into the driveway, I looked up and saw someone standing behind the locked bedroom's curtain. The figure moved away as my headlights crossed the window. I called Dale before taking off my coat. He stayed calm and said I had probably seen the curtain shift from the heat vent. When I insisted it had been a person, he asked whether work was stressing me out. That embarrassed me enough to stop arguing. A few days later, the neighbor caught me near the mailbox. She nodded toward the house and asked, "Did your brother move in?" I told her I did not have a brother. She said she had seen a younger man behind the house twice, usually early in the morning, and assumed he was family. I called the landlord. He said only Dale and I were authorized to live there. He promised to speak with Dale, but told me not to enter the locked room because it held the owner's belongings. That night, Dale acted normal. He asked about my shift and then casually asked what days I would be working the following week. I lied and said my schedule had not been posted. The next evening, I left for work at my usual time, drove to a gas station, and waited. 20 minutes later, I parked near the road and walked back through the wet grass. The house looked dark. I entered through the kitchen and stood still. Then, someone coughed upstairs. It came from behind the locked bedroom door. I should have left immediately. Instead, I climbed the stairs because I needed proof that I was not imagining it. The latch plate was bent and loose. I slid an old rewards card between the door and frame. The latch pulled back easily. The room smelled like sweat, smoke, and damp fabric. There was no old furniture. A mattress lay beneath the window. Food wrappers filled a trash bag. Men's clothes covered a chair. A backpack sat near a portable heater, and a phone charger was plugged into the wall. Someone had been living 10 feet from my bedroom. Behind the mattress was a loose floor vent. The cover had been removed, leaving a dark opening into the space between the walls. Then the back door slammed downstairs. Footsteps rushed across the kitchen. I backed out as another set of footsteps came from inside the wall. I ran into the bathroom and locked the door. My hands shook so badly that I nearly dropped my phone while calling emergency services. 2 men reached the hallway. Dale whispered angrily. The other voice was younger and rougher. She wasn't supposed to know, the younger man said. The bathroom handle turned. I told the dispatcher they were outside. She said officers were coming, but the house was far outside town. The bathroom window was small and painted shut. I hit the latch with a metal soap dish until the glass cracked. Then I pulled the frame loose and climbed through. Broken glass cut my arm and caught my coat, but I dropped into the mud and ran barefoot toward the old shed. I hid behind it, pressing my sleeve against the cut. The back door opened. A man I had never seen stepped outside and looked across the yard. Dale stood behind him. Neither called my name. They watched the darkness, as if they knew exactly where I might hide. Police arrived several minutes later. Both men were arrested before they could leave. The hidden man had violated parole and had been staying in the room for months. Dale brought him food and let him move through the house while I was gone. Investigators found that the removed vent connected to a narrow space above the crawl space. From there, he could listen near my bedroom and watch parts of the hallway. Dale had told him my work schedule, when I slept, when I showered, and which nights I came home late. Neither man had physically attacked me. People kept saying that afterward, as though it made the situation less frightening. They had not needed to touch me. For weeks, one of them had used my kitchen, walked past my door, listened to my calls, and learned my routine while I believed I was alone. The scariest part was not finding the hidden room. It was realizing someone had memorized my life from the other side of the wall.